Hey friends, welcome back to a new video. It's been such a long time. I'm glad to be back to be filming a new video. Today I wanted to talk about lifestyle inflation, more so specifically to give you an update on my situation and my relationship with lifestyle inflation. So a year back I started a new job and I made a video prior to starting that new job talking about my plans on how to actively avoid the lifestyle inflation, because I already knew it was a thing. I wanted to avoid it. I had financial goals that I wanted to attain, and I really didn't want to fall into that trap. So what is the lifestyle inflation? Basically, it's when you up your spendings according to your income. So when you, for example, get a promotion, you earn more money, you up your spendings, usually by spending on more luxurious, more expensive things. So for example, you start going on more luxurious holidays, you upgrade to a bigger home, nicer clothes, nicer whatever. You could basically upgrade every single corner of your life. And that's basically what lifestyle inflation is. The kind of scary thing with lifestyle inflation is it happens really unintentionally and it comes really sneakily. You don't really actively know that or realize that you're doing this, and it can really mess with your financial goals. Often people then have to work more, work harder to earn more money to kind of upkeep this more luxurious lifestyle that they now have. And it's easier to go more luxurious than to go back down simpler, if that makes sense. Forbes even wrote an article calling it the silent drain on your finances. So that really tells you how sneaky lifestyle inflation is, and that we should really be on the watch for that. Often we inflate our lifestyle to kind of on one hand social pressure, but also to show our status within the society. So to show that I got a promotion, I got this new shiny job now, and I want to show that to the outside with the things that I own, the neighborhood that I live in, the house that I live in, the car that I drive. With these small little things, we want to show our status in society. The thing is, this hunger for more and more luxurious things cannot be satisfied. And why is that? Because of hedonic adaptation. We humans have this ability to adapt to new things really quickly, and that can be a really positive thing. So you can, for example, adapt to a new environment, to new people really quickly, and that can be really advantageous for you. But the same thing also applies for materialistic things. So we all know that rush that we get when we buy something new. It's so exciting, we don't have something like this, but then once you've used it a bunch of times or worn it a bunch of times, it's not as exciting anymore as it was new. And that is because of hedonic adaptation. We kind of get used to the item. And the same thing goes for more expensive and more luxurious things. So of course, when you get that new, more luxurious car, you're going to be super excited. You're going to want to keep your car super clean, super shiny, and really show off that new car. But after a while, maybe after a year, after a few years, who knows how fast, but we will get used to that car, that new shiny car. And same with really luxurious, expensive vacations. If you're someone that is going on a luxury vacation for the first time, you bet you're going to be so excited, so stoked. But if you do luxury vacations all the time, it's kind of the norm for you and you're used to it, and it's nice, but you're not overly excited. So this is something that's really helpful to keep in mind, that hedonic adaptation is a thing, and that as humans, we get used to things really quickly, and it can be good, but it can also be not bad, but it's helpful when it comes to wanting to upgrade and purchase things for that rush and for that excitement. Basically, no matter how fancy or expensive the things that you own are, sooner or later that excitement is going to drop and you're going to get used to it, and it's not going to make you happy in any sort of way. We shouldn't rely on happiness from outer circumstances anyways. Happiness really comes from within. So I knew all this a year ago when I started my new job, and I really did not want to fall into the trap of lifestyle inflation. So I set myself up with a plan of how to actively avoid it. So I kind of had 3 general rules. One was, instead of upgrading, I will be focusing on replacing. The next thing I really wanted to focus on is to continue my challenges of no and or low buy challenges. I've done these a bunch of times in the past and they've been really great, and I wanted to stick with it. And then the third, last but not least, was to invest in my health. That was an area I didn't want to be too stingy with, since it's really important for me to invest into my health early on before all of the aches and pains start happening. So how has my year been? It has been really difficult, I have to be honest. Maybe I was a little bit naive, but I thought it was going to be far easier than it was. I really had to fight against lifestyle inflation here and there. I really succumbed to it. It really got me. So I think a part of my temptation was spending more or a lot of time with my coworkers. Since I work full-time, I spend most of my time with them, and they are not as minimalistic as I am, and them just talking about their newest purchases, what they plan on purchasing, that really not mess with my mind, but it really triggered the consumerist that is still somewhere here inside me. And I also really wanted to buy exciting new things as well. Plus also I work in the beauty industry, and I think that just that environment is more consumerist in a way and pays more attention on optics, I would say. And most people were just walking around with the newest, latest things. And that also kind of was something I really had to actively battle against, and was really difficult at times, and really broke me down minimalism wise at times. It was really hard. So in general, looking back at this year, I had a skincare phase where I really succumbed to consumerism, lifestyle inflation. So for one, again, I think it has to do with working in the beauty industry, but then also getting influenced by skincare influencers on the internet. And also, I think also due to stress, my skin just really isn't feeling its best and wasn't very happy. And so all those skincare ads kind of really spoke to me, since they do really prey on your self-consciousness about your skin. So I really spent not a lot of money, but I did spend more money than I previously did on skincare, trying out new products, buying more expensive products. So for example, I kind of upgraded my moisturizer to a more expensive brand. It's a really good product, which is how I'm kind of justifying it. But is it really better than my moisturizer before? To be honest, I'm not 100% sure. Maybe it's the same. I don't really know. And same with all the skincare that I added into my routine. Did they do anything? I'm not sure. Sometimes maybe I would even say that it did more harm than good. And I'm even at a point where I'm cutting everything out again and going back to the basics of just cleansing and moisturizing and trying to let my skin kind of heal itself and to heal from within. So this kind of whole skincare trip and skincare hole that I fell into, I mean, it was nice to have experimented with it, but was it really necessary? Not really. I just spent money. It took a toll on my skin and it wasn't really necessary. I kind of fell into the trap of marketing things that will miraculously make your skin perfect, which does not really exist. Same thing kind of with makeup, especially when it comes to a specific cushion foundation I have now gotten into. So I really wanted to try out this Korean cushion foundation that I've heard a lot about, and I do have to say, I really like it. It makes your skin look so good, but it's just an extra thing that I purchased, and it was far more expensive than makeup products I previously purchased. I usually just purchase the basic drugstore makeup. It works fine. I think it's good enough. But now that I've kind of gotten a taste of this more luxurious cushion foundation, I feel like, oh, now I'm at this level. I have to keep up with this now. And who knows, maybe one day I try out this even more expensive foundation or makeup or whatever, and I feel like, oh, this is now my new standard. So you see where the lifestyle inflation really sneakily creeps in. My first thought was, let's just try this out. Why not? Might be fun. And now I really like it, and I feel like I not have to stick with it, but want to stick with it. But if you do this with every single area of your life, that can really drastically up your expenses. So this is an area, especially this cushion foundation, is an area where I inflated my lifestyle. I didn't use foundation before. For some reason, I feel like I now need it or want it and is going to make my life better. Is it really making my life better? Probably not. The next kind of rule or guideline that I gave myself a year ago was to focus on replacing instead of upgrading. So once the item breaks, then I can think about maybe upgrading the item if that upgrade really does give me more value. Going back to that vacuum that I talked about that I wanted to upgrade, I actually did end up upgrading that, or in a sense replacing it. So the wheels had started to come off and it was just really not vacuuming as well as it used to. So we kind of took the plunge and bought ourselves a cordless vacuum, which has been really great, really handy. We're able to just quickly vacuum up things here and there. That upgrade kind of has really added more value to us when it comes to the use of the vacuum. And I do have to say, at first I was really tempted to get a Dyson because everyone talks about a Dyson, but they're really expensive compared to other cordless vacuums. And in my opinion, a lot of what you're paying for is the brand and the kind of the status of the brand. So I did a little bit more research and bought this no-name brand, or this brand I've never heard of ever, but had really good reviews. So I bought that. It's not the prettiest vacuum. That doesn't really matter. It's a tool. It's supposed to work well. And yeah, so we kind of upgraded with the focus on having more value with this tool. And I'm really happy that we did not fall into getting a Dyson, because that would not have been necessary. Our cordless vacuum is, I would say, just as good as the basic Dyson. Another area where we replaced instead of just upgrading straight away was our water boiler. It broke for some one day and just didn't really. No, actually it started leaking, and I felt like that was a little bit of a safety hazard. Again, I almost came to buying a KitchenAid. Again, it's something that where you mostly pay for the status of the brand. I'm happy that in the last moment we did switch to buying this no-name brand that is just as good, cost a fraction of the price, and we're really happy with that. So that is also a moment where I was really happy to be able to stop and think about it for a while before going ahead with the purchase, which is why I always recommend waiting before buying anything, waiting a day, a week, whatever, to just calm down emotionally. You don't want to purchase things emotionally, you want to purchase things rationally. So yeah, once you kind of calm down, we're able to look at things rationally. I realized, okay, it doesn't make sense to pay extra just to have a KitchenAid. I mean, they look nice, but it's not worth the extra money that you're spending. Even though these two instances were really successful when it comes to avoiding the lifestyle inflation, there were instances also where I really found myself dreaming about upgrading things. I mean, I haven't put thought to action yet, but I do find myself dreaming of a nice coffee machine that will look really cute in our kitchen, where I could make really nice coffee with, or just maybe a pasta maker. That would be really nice to have fresh pasta all the time, some new kitchen gadgets, maybe a new bookshelf, or just thinking about upgrading things here and there. And I mean, daydreaming is fine as long as you don't put thought to action, but it can be really dangerous. That's the first step to then inflating your lifestyle. So I really have to keep my thoughts in check and to be really conscious about what am I thinking of, what am I doing, and to not slip into that slippery slope of the lifestyle creep. Then what I also wanted to do was to keep up with my no buy and low buy challenges. So last year I did a only buying 15 items challenge, and I ended up buying 20 items. I will link the video here as well. That was a really fun challenge. I learned so much about myself and about my triggers and purchasing habits, and I always love to do these challenges. And that really helped. That definitely curbed my consumption, my shopping habits, because I knew I had this challenge. This year I'm doing more of a different challenge. I'm doing a no buying books challenge, so only limited to the category of books, but at the same time also writing down each item that I do buy, so I kind of stay on top of things, and it makes it a little bit harder to buy stuff, to know that, oh, I have to put this on my list and see the list grow. And that definitely helps, but it's not as effective as a challenge. And I think that next year maybe I would go back to doing a challenge. I do realize I've been far more liberal with buying stuff. So when I see something, I'd much more want to buy it and think, why not? I mean, treat yourself. I mean, firstly, we all know happiness comes from within. Buying these things and collecting these things in your life will not make you happier. And for some reason, if I really look deep down and I'm really honest to myself, there is this sense of pride or even a sense of power to be able to buy this thing or afford this thing. Before, I had to keep my finances more in check. So on one hand, there is this more liberated feeling of not having to be so on top of my finances or to reel it in that tight, but at the same time letting go a little. It's really dangerous to slide down buying things that are definitely not necessary, because I definitely do want to save that money and invest that money, because that will bring me so much more value down the line, being able to invest in myself for my retirement, to save more, to gain more financial freedom that way, than to buy all these little trinkets that might be exciting in the moment but don't bring you that much value or happiness in the long run. But it is something I definitely have to keep reminding myself of, because it's something that I easily forget when I'm in the presence of the shiny item and I feel like I really want it. But again, the same tip with don't buy it in the moment, think about it, give yourself a few days, and then it will pass. This has worked so many times, and it is, I guess, my favorite trick in the book that I keep coming back to. I think there's a false sense of freedom of being able to indulge in anything that you want. We feel like that is what freedom is, but actually you're really holding yourself back by spending your money so uncontrollably, in a sense, or unconsciously. And I think the freedom lies so much more in being able to afford it but choosing not to, because you know you don't need it and you're being smart about your financial decision. So this is editing me here, and I wanted to add a few points on vacations, for example. So on the topic of vacations, I wouldn't say that we fell into the lifestyle inflation. We didn't really do any more luxury vacations than we previously did. We always travel really frugally and on a budget, but still try to have an adventure, have fun. But it's definitely something where it's also easy to succumb to the lifestyle inflation. I think we did really well in this case, but it's definitely something also to be careful with. And when it comes to the topic of eating out, that is also somewhere where you can easily succumb to lifestyle inflation. This one really didn't affect us at all. We still really love to cook and eat at home. We both really enjoy cooking and say we are really good at cooking. And so eating out is just not really worth it for us. We like to go on little coffee runs and have a little coffee and cake and do a little date that way. But that I would say is still within our usual lifestyle and not really inflated in any way. An area where I definitely did up my spending is with my ballet lessons. I used to take ballet lessons once a week. Now I've upped it to twice a week because I can afford it. And now I even added a point class. So basically it's 3 times a week, and it is really expensive. Ballet is a really expensive sport. But I am really passionate about it, and it is something where an area where I kind of consciously inflated my lifestyle. But I kind of put that into, for one, the health category. With taking ballet 3 times a week, I'm doing moving my body much more and more intensely. And also it really is a big passion of mine. It gives me a lot of value, a lot of joy. It helps me kind of switch off after a hard work week. And yeah, it is something that I would say I definitely chose very consciously, so it wouldn't kind of be succumbing to lifestyle inflation very unconsciously. All in all, I think I did really well this year. There have been a few setbacks, and it was more difficult in a few areas than I anticipated, and I realized I really do have to stay on top of it so much more than I thought I would have to, and to really remind myself of the value that minimalism brings me. So to, for example, consume more videos about minimalism, read more books on minimalism, to really combat all the consumerist messaging that I get on the other side of things, and to really be active about going against lifestyle inflation. The only thing that I realized is, even though I kind of had a plan, I know about it and I want to avoid it, it was still so easy for me to succumb to it in different areas. There were a lot of areas where I did really well and was able to withstand, so I'm also really happy with that. And all in all, I was still able to save a lot, and to stick to my financial plan, to my savings plan of saving 50% of my income. So I'm really happy about that. But I definitely still have to stay on guard, on top of things, to not have the lifestyle creep seep in. I'm still vulnerable to it and will be probably until the day I die. But we're all in this together. We're all vulnerable to the lifestyle inflation. And I think the most important thing is to be aware of it, to know that it is a thing, and to be really conscious of your thoughts and of your actions, and to go through life consciously, and to not do things passively because others do it, to really contemplate what you're thinking and doing and observe yourself. So I'd be really interested to know your relationship with lifestyle inflation. How have you dealt with it? Have you had any struggles with it? Do you have any advice, any tips for me? I'd always love to learn more. I hope you enjoyed this video. Hope you found value in it. Thank you so much for spending your time with me, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.